AEW once again beat NXT. I think the score now is 28-5 with one draw for AEW, 0.32 to 0.19 for NXT. Of course, the AEW event featured Henry Cejudo from UFC, Mike Tyson, Rashad Evans, and Vitor Belfort, who were all kind of the MMA/boxing gang. And there was basically a pull apart with Tyson and Jericho, I guess, that took place similar to the Mike Tyson, Steve Austin Raw incident that took place on January 19th, 1998. The 1998 Mike Tyson wrestling skirmish got a 4.0 rating, and Nitro that same night got a 4.5. So if you go back to 1998, the total ratings were 8.5 the night that Mike Tyson appeared on Raw. And then if you look at the Wednesday Night Wars, if you combine the NXT and AEW rating, it's only a 0.51. So that shows you a little bit about the decline of interest in wrestling. According to Dave Meltzer, Edge has been a huge disappointment to ratings for WWE. They just hit their second lowest viewership of all time again on Monday, and that was Edge's appearance. He had been away from WWE for 9 years, and they did spend big money on them, so it has to be a bit of a hit that he's not moving the ratings at all, unlike Goldberg, who was moving the ratings. There is some interest in some people other than Vince McMahon in buying the XFL from bankruptcy court, according to the Wrestling Observer. It doesn't look like Vince McMahon is going to buy it in the end, but someone could theoretically buy it and restart it. Rady Orton, who makes about $4 million a year now, has bought a private jet. All of the directors of New Japan Pro Wrestling have agreed to take pay cuts in order to avoid cutting jobs. However, some of the New Japan Pro Wrestling talent will have to take pay cuts due to this lockdown, but no one's been fired yet. So yeah, it's unfortunate about that for New Japan. They're mostly an events company, and they haven't had live events for quite some time now in front of an audience. It looks like around July 10th, Japan's going to start letting companies put on events in front of audiences again. In the US, it seems they are allowing events, pro wrestling events, in front of audiences in Tennessee. There were a few last weekend, and I just did a shoot interview with Road Warrior Animal, and he's going to be on an event in Tennessee this weekend. And my full shoot interviews with UFC Hall of Famer and former WWE star Dan Severn and Road Warrior Animal, both recorded today, are now posted in full, ad-free at patreon.com/the Hannibal TV for anyone that wants to help support my channel and watch my full shoot interviews first ad-free. Bray Wyatt had a kid today with Jojo, who is the WWE ring announcer from time to time. I believe she was also in the first season of Total Divas. This is their second child together. Her name is Hyrie, and the family has chosen to keep the pregnancy private, even though I did see a picture of the kid on my Devin Hannibal Twitter earlier today. And it's going to be a while before JoJo returns to her on-air duties with the WWE. So that is the main combat sports news of the day. Colonel Quayle says Silva will KO or submit McGregor. Of course, there's lots of talk this week of McGregor returning to MMA. Turkey Trail Honeybee Farm from Georgia says, wow, what if Mike signed with them or WWE, man? Mike Tyson is fairly old right now, and I think he's some of the names discussed in having an actual boxing match with Mike Tyson are Tyson Fury, Ken Shamrock, Tito Ortiz, Evander Holyfield. There's a lot of big names. I think even Vanderlei Silva. So Mike Tyson could make approximately at least $20 million for one boxing exhibition. And if it's an exhibition, depending on where they hold it, it might not have to be regulated. So he might not even have to stop smoking weed. Because, of course, I mean, from what I understand, weed is a banned substance, even though I disagree that it should be a banned substance. But Tyson can make huge, huge money from boxing. I don't know if he's worth $20 million to a wrestling company. I don't know how much AEW is paying him, but as we saw, this was his first appearance on Dynamite coming off of a pay-per-view, and it scored a 0.32 rating. So I don't know in a wrestling capacity if Mike Tyson is really worth millions and millions of dollars at this point in his life. I'm not sure if he's in his 50s or his 60s, but probably his 50s. But the Pope of Sports and Entertainment says he's praying. Well, I'm praying for the gyms to open up back here in Ontario. Road Warrior Animal confirmed for me today they're back open in Missouri. Ethan Wilkins, am I going to do another Q&A this weekend? Well, I'm doing a Q&A right now. As far as another planned Q&A, really depends what my schedule is. Why Skill AX says Tyson was caught yawning at ringside. Yes, there's all sorts of GIFs and pictures of Tyson yawning through the Cody Rhodes match that took place on the AEW pay-per-view last weekend. Rich Rodeo says, what are my thoughts on Nia Jax? I have never seen Nia Jax wrestle. All I know about her is the name. Someone says Holyfield is the only opponent that makes sense and can actually happen. The MMA guys are only throwing their names in there due to the money to be made, and you're talking about possible Tyson opponents. I agree. I don't think there's any chance of seeing Tyson against Shamrock or Tyson against Ortiz because Shamrock's best strong days are over. A lot of people believe his fight with Kimbo Slice was fixed. Tito Ortiz, he is a popular fighter, but for instance, if you look at his full shoot interview on my channel, although some of his clips did well, Ortiz's full shoot interview, I don't even think has hit 5,000 hits. So it's actually one of the lowest full shoot interviews I've done. So I don't think Ortiz is that big of a draw to have a massive money fight against Mike Tyson. From what I understand, the Ortiz versus Liddell fight didn't do well on pay-per-view, which is why that pay-per-view company never ran another MMA pay-per-view to my knowledge after that. Robert says Nia Botch is her name. Maybe this is the girl I've heard of that has done a lot of screw-ups, but as I said, I don't really watch the current product. And Christian Weeding says Mike is 54. So yeah, 54 years old. I'm not sure with no actual match experience in wrestling. I'm not exactly sure that Mike could make a real big difference because it's going to get old as it goes on. And the other thing is where Mike could really make a difference in wrestling is help him with a live gate because he is a famous star. And if you're coming to a Dynamite taping and you want an audience to show up and Mike Tyson is going to be there, a lot of people are going to show up just to see Mike Tyson in person. So it's unfortunate there's no live crowds because I bet you Mike Tyson wouldn't have been yawning if there was a live crowd as well. Long Duck Dong just tipped me $10. Thanks for the $10 tip, Mr. Long Duck Dong. He says, I don't think Tyson should be allowed into a company such as AEW where owners actually care about employees, unlike no talent Tyson, who seems to only care about himself. Enough said. I personally don't have any issues with Tyson. I know why they brought him in, to try and get people talking about AEW, try and get the buy rate up for the pay-per-view, which I think they haven't released the buy rate, but I think having Tyson there did help. But long term, I don't know how much Mike Tyson is going to help. So thanks for the $10 tip, Long Duck Dong. Tony R., did I ever wrestle in the Sportatorium in Dallas? No, I am not that old. I would have loved to, though. Colonel Quayle says Floyd Mayweather lost a fight by points, but they still gave it to Mayweather. Well, that's where it helps to have a name. PWC 24/7 says, I mentioned that I'm talking to the Ultimate Warrior's brother. Yes. Is there a chance of having a shoot interview with him on my channel? I believe so. However, I'm not going to reveal where he lives, but I think it would have to be done in his town. So the borders between Canada and the U.S. appear like they're going to be closed until at least July. But if they reopen and let's say I drive to Minnesota for an interview trip, if the war zone in Minnesota ends by the summer, maybe I could stop to see the Warrior's brother on the way. He is aware of my channel. He's seen videos on my channel, and he seems interested in doing an interview with me. Tony says he's been to the Sportatorium numerous times when he was younger. I started wrestling in the year 2001, and to my knowledge, I don't think there were still shows at the Sportatorium in 2001. Dis Rap Collective 2, have I interviewed anyone about the Wall of WCW? The Wall passed away, as you're probably aware if you're a fan of his. I don't know if a lot of people remember him. To be honest, I forgot about him until you just reminded me. So I don't think his name has come up that much. Koji says he appreciates my interviews with Shad Gaspard, and I recently posted his last ever interview on this channel that the Wrestling Classic was nice enough to let me post on this channel. Victor Murphy, have I used a Kimura lock since Lanny Poffo? I think I had amateur grappling matches since that Lanny Poffo incident. I don't think I ever used a Kimura lock in a pro wrestling match because my style in pro wrestling was never very technical. But in amateur wrestling, I've used Kimura, not amateur wrestling, but no-gi grappling, I've used Kimuras, which is why a lot of people thought I applied it realistically. The truth was I did apply it realistically to Lanny. Ed Ram says, wrestling's dead when a famous wrestling fan like Tyson gets caught yawning during a show. Yeah, wrestling has become entertainment. I did post a video today of Amber Nova, who's had matches for NXT, Ring of Honor, and Impact. She recorded a little wrestling vignette type thing, but it's entertainment. It's purely entertainment. So that's what wrestling is now. It's just entertainment. There is no more professional wrestling. If we ever do more Great North Wrestling events in the future, you'll see wrestling. But for now, I might do more of these cinematic scenes just for the hell of it, just because it breaks up just editing shoot interviews all the time. Tony R says Sankdar Akbar was his head football coach's brother-in-law. That's pretty cool. The Pope says, love the character and charisma of old school 80s heels. Mr. Iron says, I think the wall had a heart attack. A lot of wrestlers in those days of WCW were into those uppers and downers, and I don't think he was that old when he passed away. So yeah, it's too bad. Someone says they watched 350 Days, thought it was good. I did a critique of that yesterday, and I thought some of the Ox Baker scenes were a little long, and I thought they should have made the movie a little shorter because there were some scenes where they had relatively unknown wrestlers talking, and I think they should have kept it more to the main superstars that everyone knows and maybe kept the movie to closer to an hour and a half. But overall, the movie was good. Real Life says, I mentioned I don't like Zack Ryder. Do I like Hawkins? No, they're both a bunch of assholes. I did a video explaining why I don't like Zack Ryder, and those guys are buddies. I put them both in the same group of assholes. Wish them nothing but the worst. Definitely have. I think that WWE made a good decision cutting all those talent. I don't think any of them were really worth keeping around. Alpha says a Black Bart interview would be hilarious. Maybe if I'm ever in Texas, but the guy that I would interview if I went to Texas would be Terry Funk. Googie Main says Greg the Hammer Valentine driving his classic vehicle in 350 days is gangsta. Tony R says cooking with Ox, the scene in 350 days. Neo GX01, do I think Raw will dip below 1 million viewers eventually? Sure it will. It's been going down every single year since I think the year 2000-ish. So eventually it's going to go below 2 million viewers, 100%. Someone wants to see a Mr. T interview. Very possible. I would like to do that. Very, very possible. And for the guy talking about classic cars, I'll end this off letting you guys know, watch the skit on here with Amber Nova. Her classic car is a Chevy Nova muscle car. It's been featured on TV shows, and it's featured in the skit. So follow us on Twitter, Instagram at the Hannibal TV. And again, my full shoot interviews I did today with Dan Severn and Animal are already up, ad-free at patreon.com/the Hannibal TV. And I post all my full shoot interviews in podcast form on the Great North Wrestling iTunes page. If you read the description, there's links at the bottom of the description of this video. You can find our iTunes page in the description, or visit thehannibaltv.com and click on the iTunes link. And Chris Lee says Amber Nova's car in that video is a sweet car. So have a good night, everyone. I am going to post a video in the next hour of Road Warrior Animal talking to me about his thoughts on the Legion of Doom Dark Side of the Ring documentary, where it also goes into a few of the things they got wrong about LOD in that documentary. So have a great night, everyone, and thanks for the tip.